Hello, this is Chapter 13, Group Behavior, Teams, and Conflict, and I will be focusing on Section 13.5, Group Conflict. We have to understand that there's always a chance for conflict when people are collaborating in formal teams or groups. According to a survey, 85% of employees reported experience conflict in the work setting, and 22% of those employees reported missing work as a result of the conflict. And in a 2021 survey titled My Perfect Resume, indicated that 80% of remote workers reported having conflict at work. 65% of those employees had conflict with their coworkers and 19% with their employee. So this indicates that even working remotely or working from home, that doesn't reduce the conflict in the workplace. So conflict is the behavior and psychological response to the belief that someone else is preventing you from achieving a goal, denying you the freedom to act in a certain manner, or going against the terms of a partnership. So, for example, Janice may believe that Tom is attempting to obtain the promotion that is rightfully hers, which would be seen as keeping her from reaching her goal. Or say that Joaquin may believe that Bridget is pressuring him to hire a specific candidate that would be denying them the opportunity to act in a certain manner. Or Arnold may believe that Jasmine is breaking their agreement not to date other people when she goes to lunch with her male coworkers, and this would be considered violating a relationship expectation. So it's crucial to remember that perception is one of the key components of conflict. Even though two people may not have the same goals, conflict is more likely to arise if some of them believes that their goals are different. So getting into dysfunctional conflict. Dysfunctional conflict prevents individuals from collaborating, lowers productivity, spreads to other areas, and raises turnover. When a task is complex, dysfunctional conflict has the biggest impact on team performance and typically arises when one or both sides feel attacked of control as a result of the other party's behavior. And then functional conflict. So, functional conflict that improves interpersonal relationships or performance. A functional conflict example would be brainstorming, um, a brainstorming session where colleagues respectfully discuss differing perspectives to find best solution, then leading to a productive discussion and a better outcome. An organization should be concerned with dysfunctional conflict because when with conflict, workers may miss work, quit um, their organization or unions, or even file a lawsuit. So now I'll be discussing in types of conflict in a workplace. So the first one is interpersonal conflict, and this is conflict between two individuals in the workplace. And this could look like conflict between two coworkers, say an employee and a vendor, an employee and a customer, or even a supervisor and an employee. So, individual group conflict. This is conflict between an individual and a group of people. For example, let's say a new team member, Sarah, whose creative ideas are frequently disregarded by a more established group who favor traditional methods, and this can lead to project delays and conflict within the team. There's also group conflict. The third party uh, this is the third type of conflict is and is the one that involves two or more groups. For example, when the customer service staff prioritizes customer pleasure while the sales team prioritizes high sales goals. And for instance, this can cause stress and even dispute. So, causes of conflict can include competition of resources, task independence, jurisdictional ambiguity, communication barriers, beliefs, and personality. Conflict styles, avoiding style. So, this was me for a very long time. Like, I avoid this, or I'll go around that way to avoid that person. Totally ignoring the conflict and situation, hoping that it would resolve itself. And I use this style so much in my personal life as well. This is definitely not a good way to handle uh, pretty much any type of conflict. Under the avoiding style, someone could withdraw, which is an approach to handling conflict in which one party removes themselves from a situation to avoid conflict. For example, say an individual can avoid a problem by at work by quitting the company. Triangling is another approach that has occurred recently with two of my coworkers. They were working in the same office. They were not talking to each other. Each one called my supervisor, hoping it would get resolved through them talking to the supervisor instead of talking to each other. This didn't work. The conflict got worse until the supervisor got them together to resolve the issue while mediating between the two. Accommodating style is a person with a conflict style and one who usually gives in to another person in order to resolve conflicts. Forcing style is the approach when someone will disregard another person and do whatever it takes to win, winning at all costs. This would be someone who is going to handle conflict by doing whatever it takes to win, even if it damages the other side or causes damage to future relationships. And then collaborating style, where one wants to resolve conflict in a way that both sides get what they want. For example, a team working on a marketing campaign might brainstorm ideas together, discuss the pros and cons of each, and collaboratively decide on the best approach, ensuring everyone feels heard and valued in the process. And this approach would probably be the best to use when um, the best to use, but it could be time consuming. And then there's compromising style. So let's meet in the middle. Let's agree to get what we both want. Compromising resolves conflict and benefits both sides. Compromising will involve negotiation and bargaining. For example, I don't like someone doesn't like me, but we are willing to keep the peace to provide the best services to the adolescents we work with. LAR, MSP, negotiations often start with each side putting up its MSP as an opening bid. As shown in figure 13.3, the space between the LARs of the two parties is the actual negotiating territory. After then, each party bargains for a settlement that is closest to both its own MSP and the other's LAR. There are limited time available, and each negotiator's skill will determine the final settlement. So, resolving conflict. Conflict resolution should be formally outlined in organizations' policies. So, when dispute initially arises between coworkers or between a manager and a subordinate, it is best to encourage both parties to utilize the conflict resolution techniques they were taught in training to settle the dispute peacefully. So, cooperative conflict is a method that could resolve conflict. For example, two employees have conflict with each other, um, and together they get to discuss the problem between the two of them, and they are able to get into the solution. If they are able to do this, it is better. It is a better method than having a supervisor get involved. Perhaps two workers are unable to do this. Say Martha doesn't like Janet because she is dating her ex. They all work together. Martha tries to do whatever it takes to make Janet's work life miserable. In this case, a third party intervention would be the best appropriate with a mediator, such as a supervisor, to help the two reach a mutually agreeable solution to the conflict. If the parties couldn't come to an agreement, then arbitration would be another method for resolving conflict. For example, say the supervisor brings the situation to the HR director, um, which would be considered a neutral third party, and listens to both sides and makes the best decision. So I just put tips that people can reflect on to help make a more cohesion workplace, and be a better group member. That's all I have. Thank you.